Hi guys, so today we are going to be working on Azure to see how we can build VM. When some people want to build VM in Azure, they just hit on create VM, next, 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 and then they get to the end and the VM is ready from what Azure will do, right? But we are going to give it a different approach by logically arranging this resource so that they can be easily managed. All right, so we'll start by creating resource group for VMs, and then we create resource group for VNets. Okay, just so they can be easily managed instead of having them not in a proper order, right? So what we do now, we'll create a resource group for the VNet, and then we create different subnets for different units in the organization. So, of course, if I want to sign into the portal, I will sign in with portal.azure.com, and then I will need to pick an account that okay, let me just add a new tab, right? Just to start from the beginning, portal.azure.com. Then that will bring me here. I will pick an account that I have, so Azure subscription, Azure credit, right? So that it can give me access to resources. So what I want to do first, I want to create a resource group. So I will just look for resource group here and hit on this. And then when it comes up, I will just click on create. Okay, so on this, I want to call it cloud VM RG. Okay, so Cloud Virtual Machine Resource Group. That's the name. So I'm going to create it in East US. I'll just hit on create and then it comes up. Let's not get confused. We have Cloud RG. This was created in one of my demos, but we have Cloud VM RG. So we want to create another resource group, and the resource group is going to strictly be for VNets. Okay, so we are going to call this Cloud hyphen um, VNet RG. So Cloud Virtual Network Resource Group. So we just hit on review and create. So what happens now? We have two resource group. We have one for VM and then we have one for VNets. Okay. Now, having done this, the next thing we want to do is to create virtual network. Okay, so let's come here. Virtual network. The one under marketplace is going to be virtual network. Let's just do it this way. And then this one here will just lead us straight to creating a VNet, right? So let's just create the VNet straight, and then it's going to bring up option for us to give it, a name, right? So the resource group that we want to place it is going to be on Cloud VNet RG, right? Cloud VNet resource group. That is where we want to place it. And then what is the name of the virtual network that we want to create? So we are going to call it Cloud VNet. Cloud VNet. That is the name of the VNet, Cloud VNet. Okay. Now we click on next, and here is where we do few or a bit of calculation. So let's say we want to build our network and we are giving it 192.168.70.0. Okay, and then our address space we are using /24 here, so we are going to have 256 IPs. Okay, having done this, we need to, let's say we now have, already we are aware that we have 256 IP addresses. Now we have departments. Let's say we want to give it to 3 departments, we want to give it to IT department, we want to give to accounting department, and want to give to legal department. So we want to share this IP between these different departments in our organization, the cloud organization. So the next thing we will do is to click on add subnets. So if you click on add subnet, it's going to load up this way. And then what we'll do is we said, okay, this subnet is going to be named IT subnet inside the Cloud VNet, right? And then we want to say, okay, let it start from 192.168. Let's start from 0. If we are doing /24, it means that we are consuming all the IP addresses, meaning that we will not have anyone to give to any other unit. Therefore, we want to bring this down to maybe slash, let's do /26, so that we can take 64 IP addresses away from 256 IP addresses to assign to those in the IT unit. Okay, so we click on add. So we can now remove these defaults that came with our, our IP address. So we now do add another subnet, and this time we want to give to accounting. So we come here, we give it a name. But before we even do this, right, let's even check down here. You see that the IT subnet is ending at 63. It means that the next IP that we want to create should start from 64. I just want you to see that. So let's add another subnet that we want to give to the accounting unit of our organization. So when this happens, we now come here, we call it account ACCT subnet. So it means that this subnet is for the accounting department of our organization, and it's going to be starting from, remember, our IP address is 192.168.70. Starting from 64. That's where we want to start from. Okay. Now, starting from 64, and then it is going to be /26, so that we take another 64 IP addresses that we are giving to those users that are going to be in the accounting unit. Okay, we can add. We already have IT subnet, we have account subnet, and then the next subnet we may want to have, let's just still build another 64 IP addresses for those in the legal department. So this one is coming up. It means that the third subnet that we want to do, we want to give it legal subnet. Okay, so this subnet is for the legal department. Remember, from here, let me just close this. We'll come back to this. Let me explain here. We have to 63. We have here, what do we have here? If you check it back, we have here to, we started from 64, so we are going to end at 127. That is, the address space is .64 to 127. You see it here. So the next IP address is going to be from 128. Remember, 128. That's where we want to start from. So let's click on save, and let's add that subnet for the legal department again. So clicking on this, we'll come back here, we give it a name, legal subnet. Okay, so and then the starting IP is going to be 192.168.70.128. Okay, and then we are giving it /26 again, just so we can give 64 IP address to those in the legal department. Now we click on add. So now we've built 3 different subnets inside our virtual network, right? So what we'll do is we just review and create. So it will validate this IP. It means that we are going to be building our VM, and it's going to be a server, right? We just review, just pass validation, and then we click on server. We click on create. So we want to create a server that we will have in the IT department. It means that when we are building this server, we are going to be building it to take up an IP address inside of the IT subnet. All right. So because it is not a good practice for us to just build a VM, just click on next, 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 and then it builds a VM for us, and we start using the VM without actually understanding how the networking is arranged. So this is how to build different subnets in Azure for your different um, um, virtual machine or resources that you want to put on those networks. So let's just hold on while this loads. Okay, so this is done already. It means that the VNet and the VNet and its subnet are already created. Of course, you can go and look at Cloud VNet, and it's going to be prepared for us. So that is Cloud VNet prepared. One is ready. So the next thing we want to do now is to go to creating resources. I want to create a VM, that is a virtual machine that is going to be a server that will put in one of the subnet. Excuse me. So what we'll do is, let's just call virtual machine from here. We do this under marketplace again, we see virtual machine, and then what we can do at this point, you need to pay key attention to this. So it's asking us, which resource group do you want to put it? Remember, cloud we have cloud vnet resource group, cloud vnet resource group. We have cloud vm resource group, right? So I want us to put it in cloud vm resource group because we are creating a VM. So we just click on this cloud VM resource group. Then what is the virtual machine name? What is the name? What name do we want to give it? So we'll just call it cloud dash VM. Okay. Now, having given it that name, the region, this tells us that we should choose a region that is right for us and our customer, that it is not all VM size that are available in all region, of course, but the VM we want to create for this demo is okay to be in the East US. Then availability option, of course, you have different availability option. You have availability set, virtual machine skill set, you have availability zone, you have no infrastructure redundancy required. That is, if you don't want to back up in any form. No, physical separation is done when you use availability zone. Then virtual machine skill set actually distribute your VM across zones and fault domain at scale. Then availability set automatically distribute your VM across multiple fault domain. But what I want to do now, I just want to leave it this way. You can choose the other option to build yours. Then the security type, of course, this information, the security type refers to the different security features that can be available for the VM. I am okay to use tested launch virtual machine. Then looking at the image, now choose the best operating system. The image here is where you choose the operating system that is good for the VM that we want to build. I have said earlier that we want to build a server that we can use, from the IT unit, right? So let's click down here. Then we have several options. We have Windows Server 2022, Data Center 64, second gen. We have all of these. So I just want us to quickly pick the Windows Server 2022. Okay. Now, if that is taken, then we can scroll down. We can scroll down here to run with Azure Spot. There's a discount if you run with Azure Spot by checking this box. It is going to be, let's just read what is here. Azure Spot offer unused Azure capacity at discounted rates, right? So it is actually the cheapest way of keeping your VM. However, if there is a workload that requests Azure with a pay-as-you-go subscription, it's going to knock off your VM without giving any consideration to what you have. So you can lose your work or you can lose your resources that you put in that VM. Let me just read what we have here. Azure Spot offer unused Azure capacity at a discounted rate versus pay as you go. Workload should be tolerated to infrastructure loss, as Azure may recall capacity for pay as you go workload. So as soon as somebody comes to want to pay for the space that you are just occupying at that amount, then it can just be taken off and then you lose it, right? Now, the size of the VM here, of course, I would have to consider the cost of what I want to, of course, the subscription I have and the amount I want to allocate to this VM will determine the size of the VM that I'm going to choose. If you want to look at more VMs and they are all sizes, you can click on here to see the different VM and see their different cost. Let's say, for example, I want to go for the one of $60.74 per month. Then it means that I will look at the properties. It is actually B2MS and it's general purpose. I have two CPUs. I have 8 gig RAM. I have 4 disk. Data disk is 4. Then I have all of these properties. If I feel that that is fine for me and is at 60.7, I can just pick it up and do select, and then it's going to come up for me as standard B2MS, and then it's going to cost me this amount. If I want a higher or a lower one, of course I can decide to choose whichever I want to choose here. Okay, so but I choose the, remember this one that is 64. Where is it? 60.74, right? That was what I selected. That is B2MS. Okay. So now the username, I will still call it cloud dash VM. That's the name I will give it. Then the password, I will give it a password. Okay. Then I will confirm the password. Okay, so that's confirmed. Then all of this, of course, I want to use RDP for now to access that VM. Okay, so this is where it becomes important. Let's do next. Azure detect that there's another region size zone recommended that may lead to higher chance of successful deployment. Ignore this for now. And then I don't think I have anything I want to alter here because OS disk type, I'm okay with the premium SSD. Of course, there are others. You can go to HDD, you can go to SDD, but I'm fine with the premium SSD. So I will just leave it. But where is it becomes very interesting is this networking part. Remember that we want to put this VM in in a subnet that is meant for the IT unit, right? So let's just click down here. You remember that we are doing okay, so cloud vnet, let me see the subnet that are here. Okay, so we have the accounting cloud vnet was the name of the vnet, right? Cloud VNet was the name of the VNet, and then we have the subnet for the IT unit, subnet IT 192.d.70/26. Okay, so having done that, I'll just leave this other stuff, and then it's okay to be in RDP, and then here I'll go to management just to see if I need to adjust anything. Then this is the auto shutdown time just in case I forget to shut it down. At this 7 p.m. UTC is going to shut down. Okay, I can just look at it and then look at the recovery and all of that. I go to monitoring, I go to advanced just to check if there's anything I need to do. The tagging is just for distinguishing it, and then at this point I will click on review and create. Excuse me. So it's actually trying to check the whole stuff for me just so I can have one overview and validation on it. So the validation has passed. So the next thing I want to do is just to look at what I have built. This is 0.0832 USD per hour, and then it's just fine. I'm going to see all of this. So for me, it's fine. I've looked at the premium SSD, local redundancy storage, and then cloud VNet. This is the IT subnets that I'm giving it. Is fine. I'll just look at it and then I'll hit on create. So at this point, you can now sit back and wait for it to create the VM for you. Okay, so the VM is now deployed and is complete. So what we can do is to go to resources so we can see our VM. So the cloud VM is deployed and it's ready for us to connect. But what I want us to do now is for us to go back to our VNet first. Let's just go back to our VNet. Of course, our VNet is here. All right. Now, if we come to our VNet, we have Cloud VNet, and that's loading up. Then we have our subnet inside the VNet, right? Now we have our subnets. You would see that this one for accounting subnet and legal subnet, we have 59 IP addresses. Of course, you know that we have some that are taken up by VM. We have 64 IPs, but Azure has a way of keeping some for itself. So 64, about 5 is taken away now, right? So that is not in our visibility, but we have 59 each for each department, but we have built a VM already inside the IT subnet, which has taken one of the IP addresses. So if we come down to connected devices, we are going to find out that a device is already connected, and the device connected to it is cloud VM, right, which we just created, is taking, and it is taking an IP from IT subnet. Okay, so if you look at it, the IP address for this device is this 192.168.70.4. If we want to make this server our DNS server, it's just for us to come down here and then we create a custom DNS, and then it means that we now have to put our 192.168.70.4. It will now make this virtual machine our DNS server, so we can save it. So that's now saving the VM that we just built in the IT department, in the IT department subnet, as our what's it called, DNS server. Okay, so having done that, we can come back to our VM. This is where it becomes interesting, right? So coming to our VM, you already remember that we have cloud VM RG. It is here, right? And then we have our VM inside of this resource group, and this is it. So we can click on it and then we can connect to that VM that we just built, and then it's just up here, and then we connect. Just scroll down here, native RDP, yes, select, and then we can download RDP if we do not have. This is the name of the VM, so we can download RDP if we don't have already. We can click on this and then open it. We click on connect and then Control V, put my password. Okay, so I'll just hit on this, and then I may just say don't ask this next time, so I'll just hit on next, and then it's going to open up that VM that we just built for me so that I can see what I can see in Windows Server 2022. So that's just loading in a bit. We'll just wait for it to load the first time. Okay, so the VM that we just built is loading up. So there's something very interesting I want us to look at while this VM is now up, right? It's just trying to load more, load some other stuff that are remaining. I want us to do speed test on my local machine, and I will just do this, and then I will hit on go as soon as this loads. Go. As that is loading, let me now come back to my VM and try to launch. Of course, it's a server, so the server manager is just loading. So let's wait for it to complete and then we can come back to this. So coming back to my network, right, on my local PC, we have 37 download speed. Let me see what my upload speed is going to be. So while that is as well running, I'll quickly come back to my VM. Okay, so I will just do, because of what I want to check for, just because it's very interesting, the network speed in my local PC and my VM. So of course this is the first time loading I'm loading Edge browser. Of course, I must do this ceremony, confirm and continue, and then just one step more to open for me. Yeah, to confirm and start browsing. So while that is again loading, let's come back to our VM. So my upload speed is 38.95, while my download speed is as poor as 5.87. Now let me come back to my VM and try to do the same speed test.net. So I will just do, let me add a new tab, or let me even type it here, speed.net. So it is a very interesting part that I must have to show you before we call it a day. Okay, so I will hit on start and then let me just allow this. So on the same machine that I am, local machine, having my VM running, of course you can see the speed of my network, 100, 900 and 890, 830, right? 830 download. And then let's see my upload speed as well. Upload speed is at 954. If you compare that to what I have on my local machine, you see that it is nothing to be compared to each other. That is the beauty of the cloud, right? So if I bring back the summary of what we have done, we're able to create resource group for VM. We created resource group for VNet, and inside our VNet, we are able to create three different subnets. A subnet for the accounting, we give it 64 IP addresses. We give the legal unit 64 IP addresses, and we give the IT unit 64 IP addresses. So we build a Windows Server 2022 and we put it in the IT subnet, and we made the machine a DNS server. And then we try to check the speed test result of our physical machine, that's our local machine, and compare that to what we have in Azure, and we see the tremendous speed that Azure VM can give to us. So it is very interesting. I will give you more of these contents as time progresses. So thank you so much. If you've not liked this video, you may have to do that. And I need you to put your comment down below if there are stuffs that you observe that you want to make suggestions. Of course, I am open to learn from you as well. So thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day.